The Cloaked Prophet. I'm an operator on the dark web. I run many dark and disturbing sites and chat rooms that cater to humanity's darkest and most depraved desires. From people's most taboo, disturbing sexual urges and fetishes to their most sickening, macabre hobbies. From death to pleasure, real or faux, I have the entire market cornered in depravity. I also put together boxes or grab bags for people who want used items that pertain to whatever their weird fetish is. You may know me. I go by the name The Cloaked Prophet, and you've probably been to my many number of dark sites. From the pleasure house, or the doctor's office, the master's study, or the playground. But I'm sure if you've traversed the waters of the dark web, then you've definitely stopped by my main site, the dungeon. My chat rooms have provided people to interact with other people who share the same dark desires. Chances are, if you've talked about or planned something out, maybe set up a kinky rendezvous, or ordered something you shouldn't have, either an item or a person's service, it was provided by me. But you see, just like everyone else, just like the people who decide to take the chance and come into the dark web, I too have a hobby that brings me joy, and that's the utter destruction of people's lives. I go by the thinking of, if you're dumb enough to go into the dark web, and if you're really dumb enough to visit one of my sites or chat rooms, then you're fair game for me to destroy. And trust me, I've destroyed plenty of people's lives. That has given me much pleasure. You see, once you've entered my world of darkness, I get your personal information instantly. I know your real name, date of birth, social security number. Hell, I'll even know your mother's maiden name, your address, and your wife's parents' address before your first hour on one of my sites is through. I'll then systematically set out and destroy your life, either by sending a loved one of yours a picture or two of the sickening things you're into, or letting your place of work know of your sexual deviances. There was one particular instance that brought me much joy, when one of the people's old mother I sent some evidence to keeled over in the doorway and died from a heart attack right on the spot. Her weak heart couldn't take seeing the nasty things her son was into, I guess. Another one of my favorites is when YouTube unboxers venture into the dark web and ask for a box of miscellaneous disturbing items so they can unbox them live on their channel. Well, I oblige their request and send them the finest used dark items, things that have been used in some of the most grotesque ways and crimes. Then once I know the package has arrived, I then proceed to call their local police station and inform them that a sick, twisted individual is living in the community, and that some frightening crimes might have taken place. I've kept a tally, 300 lives and counting, that I've destroyed. So please, before you make the dumb decision to enter the dark web, pull your head out of your ass, because now you're in my world. And trust me, I'm waiting. The dark web's terror. In the depths of the internet, there lies a place where the shadows of the world come alive. It's a place where the wicked thrive and the curious are never heard from again. This place is called the dark web, and it's a labyrinth of terrors and nightmares. It all started when a group of friends who loved exploring the unknown decided to delve into the dark web. They had heard rumors of a website that offered real-life horrors, and they were eager to see it for themselves. They stumbled upon a site called The Abyss, which promised to show them the darker side of the internet. The site's layout was simple and eerie, with a black background and glowing red text. The friends were fascinated, and they decided to explore the site further. As they clicked on various links, they found themselves immersed in a world of violence and terror. They saw videos of brutal crimes and photographs of murdered victims. They read stories of people who had disappeared without a trace after visiting the dark web. The friends soon realized that they were in over their heads. They tried to leave the site, but the pages wouldn't close. They were trapped in the abyss, and the more they tried to leave, the more the site seemed to pull them in. It wasn't long before they started to experience strange things. They heard whispers in the darkness and felt cold breaths on the back of their necks. They saw visions of grotesque creatures lurking in the shadows. The friends were terrified, and they began to panic. They screamed for help, but no one answered. They were alone in the dark web, and they knew that they would never escape. As they sat huddled together, they heard a voice. It was a deep, raspy voice that whispered,
"You should never have come here. You are now mine."
The friends screamed in terror as they felt something grab them from the darkness. They were never seen or heard from again. Years later, a young hacker discovered the remains of the abyss on the dark web. As he explored the site, he too began to experience strange and terrifying things. He heard whispers in the darkness. He felt cold breaths on the back of his neck. The hacker soon realized that he was not alone in the dark web. Something was watching him, something that was waiting to claim him as its next victim. The hacker's screams echoed through the dark web, and to this day, no one knows what happened to him. Some say that he was taken by the monster of the dark web, and that he now haunts the site, waiting to claim its next victim. The dark web is a place of mystery and terror, and it's a warning to all those who dare to explore it. Those who enter the dark web never return, and they become a part of its darkness forever. Who knows? Maybe you will be next. The deep, dark web. "Timmy, time for bed," my mom yelled from upstairs. "Okay, Mom, night." I raced my way up the steps and climbed into bed. I had it all planned out. 2 hours later, I descended out of my window, my laptop in my backpack, carefully rappelling down my house. Each time my foot hit the brick exterior wall, I was getting closer, closer to revealing that secret. I went about 200 yards west and into the woods that were near my house. I grabbed my laptop and opened it, making my way onto that. "Hey, man, sorry I'm late," Jim said out of breath. "No problem. I was a little on edge, so I left early," I replied. "Did you get on all right?" he asked. nodding towards my laptop. Yeah, no problems, I said hesitantly. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do this now. Jim put in the flash drive and brought it up. The dark web, home to the world's illegal activities. I saw a child's video that was recently in the news. The authorities found her barely breathing, her legs amputated, arms riddled with burn marks, covered in plastic. Awful. I saw weapons being used to destroy our world, humans for sale, for less than a pack of gum, no hope in their eyes. Hey, maybe we shouldn't do this, man. I started to plead. Don't chicken out. You wanted to figure this out, right? He said mockingly. I looked on with shame. This was wrong. But I had to complete this puzzle. After a little bit of searching, Jim found the video. Truly awful. We watched it. A boy about my age tied up. 2 men with a horrifying arsenal of weapons. They started with the clips. They put them all on his legs and arms, and if one of them popped off, they would whip him. Then they started to cut him, using Roman techniques for crucifixion, maximizing pain. They drove the nails through his wrist. I can't watch this. Skip to the end. I cried out. I received a mysterious email of the first few seconds of that clip, so horrifying. But now I froze as the camera panned to see the face of the victim. Hey, Tim. That's you, isn't it? He said, shocked, riddled with disbelief. Yeah, I said. When was this posted? I yelled. I begged. 2 hours from now, he whispered. I heard a rustling noise in the bushes behind me. The Blood Singer. The Blood Singer. The name has a nice ring to it. My friends were the ones who introduced me to him, a rock star who would bleed from the mouth whenever he performed on stage. People had high respect for him since it was thought that he bled because he pushed his vocal cords to the extreme, and that's what he advertised about himself as well. He was an underground artist who only performed in secret locations about twice a year. The only way for you to know the date and location for his performance was through accessing a forum on the dark web. The tickets were pricey, but people paid it to see the singer bleed on stage. I was surfing the dark web for his next show when I came across a guy selling VIP tickets. Intrigued, I looked what was in the offer. These tickets were very exclusive. 2 people would get to meet the Blood Singer 2 hours before his show at a separate, undisclosed location. Excited to meet the singer, I purchased the tickets and quickly informed my best friend of the good news. The tickets disclosed a private number that we could text for the location of the meeting. So, 2 hours before the show, me and my best friend left together and arrived at a warehouse. We were shepherded inside by a masked man who took our car keys as a valet service. Inside, we were greeted by the Blood Singer, who sat on a sofa and instructed us to sit. He offered us drinks, and we began drinking and talking. It wasn't until the 15-minute mark hit that I noticed myself getting woozy. I toppled over, unconscious. The Blood Singer and his team of 3 close friends dragged the unconscious bodies through a back door and into a butchering area. The bodies were slung upside down, and a saw was used to behead them. A large bucket was placed under each body, and the blood was drained. The Blood Singer would drink his fill before his show started. During his concert days, his stomach would always overflow with blood, and when he exerted himself on stage, the blood would rise up through his throat and run down his mouth. And that was the secret of the Blood Singer. I sold my soul on the dark web for $1 million each month. Times were tight, and I knew it. Loan sharks and debtors had been knocking on my door every night, screaming curses and spraying shit on the door. Rent was due. Utilities were due. I lost my job because of the pandemic. I found a new one, though. One where I had to work the whole night with little pay. There were even times when I went hungry. I was really desperate for a better job, so I scoured the internet for one. Yes, even the dark web. The site's not for kids. Then I found the website. It was full of bright colors and devil cartoon characters in various poses. It promised big money and even fame. All I needed to do was to sell my soul. I was desperate. I clicked on the link and filled up the form. 30 seconds later, there was a ping from my phone. The money had come in, $1 million as a welcome gift. And more to come, promised a tagline at the end. My jaw dropped. $1 million was a lot of money. At that exact moment, I knew all of my problems were solved in an instant. For every month after that, $1 million was sent to my bank account. The loan sharks were paid. The utilities were paid. I could afford to buy better food now, lobster and crab. I even bought a mansion on a private island. Parties were held at my mansion every night, the bar stacked with the finest wines. It was at one of those parties when I saw the man in the skull mask. He was wearing a black cloak and was holding a scythe in his right hand. My heart froze into ice, and the website, which I had long forgotten, came rushing back to me. Bodies moved to wild music and booming bass like a tidal wave, but the man sliced through them like they weren't even there. "Your time has come," he said. I nodded numbly. There was nothing more I could do. He swung his scythe. I felt my body burst open, blood exploding everywhere. The man rummaged around my insides, tossing around maroon kidneys, stomach, and heart, before closing his hand over a little squirming white orb. He put the orb inside his cloak and stitched me up the best he could. "Have a good day," he said formally. After he left, the world darkened to a solid gray. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to enjoy myself. Even living in a mansion was not so fun anymore. In the end, I sold everything and moved back to a single apartment. I even fell into old habits, drinking and drugs, and even that was truly tasteless. I was downing a bottle of whiskey, feeling nothing, when the man in the skull mask came back. This time, he was morbidly cheerful, grinning behind his skull mask. "Your soul was remarkably popular," he said. "They want more of you." The Scammers Livestream. After the green light started blinking, I ripped the duct tape off the mouth of the man who I had chained to his office chair. "We're live," I told him. Finally, it was the moment I had been dreaming of for the last 5 years of my life. The squirming maggot in front of me was a successful scammer who preyed on the feeble minds of the elderly middle class. 5 years ago to the day, my sickly mother had died of cardiac arrest after realizing that this scammer had sucked up every last cent of her life savings, draining hundreds of thousands of dollars from her. Now I share some blame, of course, for having not intervened in my mother's finances when she first became ill. Regardless, tonight I will set things right. After my mother's death, I promised revenge. I committed my whole life to finding this man. I went back to school to learn computer science and worked tirelessly on developing the skills I'd need. I saved my money for years and used it to purchase a new ID via the dark web, just so I could make this trip. The past 5 years built up to tonight's live stream. The live stream invite went out to every person that he had scammed from his ocean view office in a lavish house. The live stream was also sent to other scammers and even broadcasted on social media and the dark web. "Why don't you tell the audience what you do?" I said. "I don't know what you're talking about," the man cried. I pushed a button in my hand, sending 30 seconds of painful electrical currents through his body. I laughed as the scammer screamed in agony. "No more lies," I said calmly. "Now, tell us about the scams." Okay, the pathetic scammer said. "I scam people for a living. I have bills to pay too, okay? By the look of your Ferrari, it seems you're doing a lot better than paying the bills." Shocking him when necessary, I forced the scammer to confess in simplistic detail his crimes. "I'm sorry," cried the scammer. "I'll give it all back. Just please don't kill me." "Oh, I won't be killing you. Say, you use your computer to scam, right?" I asked. He nodded. "Well, you can't use your computer without hands, can you?" The scammer cried and screamed as I cut both of his hands off using an electric chainsaw in front of our 13,500 viewers. I then reached into his mouth with my pliers, pulling on his tongue. "Can't use a phone without a tongue," I exclaimed, before cutting his tongue off with a kitchen knife. Blood poured from his mouth and arm stubs as I prepared the finale. I put the branding iron to his forehead, forever branding the word "scammer" onto his forehead, despite his blood-gurgling screams. "As I said, I'm not going to kill you. That would be too kind." "Cage me. Yawn," Leslie said, then scrolled to the next post. "Drugs. Boring," she scoffed before even finishing the preview. "No wonder it's unclaimed." On to the next post. "I can get 1-year-old giraffes, $40,000 plus transport," it read. Leslie pondered what it would be like to own a giraffe. Through a dismissive chuckle, she hovered over the home button for "Cage Me." That humorous daydream was broken by the shrill ringing of her cell phone. She groaned loudly and declined the call. "Take a hint, creep," she shouted at the phone. Tucked down deep in the gnarled roots of the dark web, Cage Me was a particularly busy message board where one could find for sale illicit, illegal, and immoral items that users from all over the world can get. On the other end, those looking for such items could create a "who can get" post. Once the home page loaded, Leslie found the buttons that led to one of the 2 areas under this domain: Who Cage and I Cage. Leslie clicked her way into the former, if for no reason than to see what perverse desires exist on this level of humanity. W. Cage, 2001 BMW plate number 4KLK9H3, $4,000. Claimed. W. Cage, 1 pound black rhino meat, $300. Unclaimed. Disgusted, she was glad that the last request had yet to be satisfied. She continued to scroll for many minutes, skimming post after post of wanted items that were almost as mundane as the iCage page. One post grabbed her attention when she read, $25,000 unclaimed. That was more money being offered on W. Cage than she had ever seen. She simply had to know more. There were no further details, however, only that absurd dollar amount and a JPEG link. Her curiosity intensified, and after a quick scan for viruses, clean, she opened the image. The high-res picture took almost a full minute to load, but what it finally displayed was so terrifying that she couldn't believe it at first. So unbelievable, in fact, that Leslie thought it to be a tasteless prank. She shoved herself away from the desk, never breaking eye contact with the horrific sight on the monitor. Panicked nausea came in waves, crashing against the shore of this new nightmare. She reached for the mouse, but she knew she couldn't report this posting. There was no one to even report it to. She shouldn't have been on the dark web in the first place. She shouldn't have been searching up things better left unseen. But it was better to know than to not. As Leslie stared long and hard at the picture of herself on the monitor, tears fell from her eyes. The candid photo was taken only days before, when she was enjoying a beautiful afternoon at the nearby park. Consequences be damned, she decided to call the police. As she reached for her phone, a cheery ding rang from the computer speakers. The W. Cage request for her had changed from unclaimed to claimed. Lost.dir, Part 1. Remember, you are never safe, especially online. This happened when I was 11. One day, I was surfing the internet. I've just seen some videos about dark web and deep web. They use Tor to enter the deep web. Then they go further to access the dark web. So I tried, and you won't believe what happened. I entered deep web using Hidden Wiki. I found a few links, so I tried one. It was a link that said free hacked apps. I thought that meant Minecraft or Adobe Photoshop, so I thought, seems like a good idea. I clicked on the link, and I saw a lot of apps. They all seemed hilarious. Like, what the hell is Dater Agu? I scrolled down a bit and was thinking about leaving. Then I saw an app named lost.dir. The description said, it will hack your friends and family devices. So I thought that it was suitable for a joke. I installed it. I clicked on the file a few times, but it didn't open. Damn it, another scam. Just before I gave up, a window popped up. It said, thanks for downloading, idiot. You've been hacked. Then the screen went dark. Was it the screen, or was it me? Did I just pass out? What happened? I don't know. I saw a light. Wait! Don't leave me! I turned back It was my mom and dad. No, no, no! I screamed in terror. It wasn't Mom. It wasn't Dad. It was everyone. My aunt, my uncle, my grandma, my friends. They were screaming for help. Suddenly, I woke up. My mom was crying next to me. She said she tried to wake me up, but I didn't. I was sweating a lot. I looked at the computer screen. It was dark. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel. Your generosity means the world to me. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchess.ofdarkness or Twitter at duchessofdarkn2. I want to thank you all for your support, your kindness, and your encouragement. I appreciate it so very much. Until next time.